Robbie, we have a question in the chat for you from Connor Stewart. He said, Indiana damn near lost to Xavier. How is Illinois not the top Big Ten team, you clown? So that's a perfect transition to get into Indiana. They survived. They were up by, I think they were up by 8 with 2 minutes left and ended up hanging on to win by 2 and knock off Xavier. What did you see from Indiana tonight? How impressed were we with Trace Jackson Davis? Is this a team going in, knocking off Xavier in a building that I think doesn't get enough respect?
Yeah, Cincinnati was great.
Hard place to play.
How good it is. What's your take on Indiana?
You know, the first couple games, the balance was really impressive, and tonight that was not the case. Xavier Johnson and Trace Jackson Davis were awesome, and Malik Reneau I thought was really, really good. And outside of that, boy, it was slim pickings. Miller Kopp, who struggled most of the game, made a big 3 late, made some big free throws. But I think for this team to be really good, they've got to make some threes. And tonight they only shot 12 of them, and they only made 4 of them. So that's definitely a concern. But in fairness, it is their first road game. You go into a tough environment. Not that Xavier is a top 25 team, but has some pieces, is a really well-coached team with Sean Miller. And I think anyone at Xavier, I played there in college. It's a tough place to play. That's a really good win for Indiana. But I do worry that, you know, when the things get tough, is this going to be just Trace Jackson Davis and Xavier Johnson?
Coach?
Yeah, I was impressed with Xavier Johnson to be just his poise. I thought he played like, you know, a veteran player. Trace, man, he's just a hard man. I mean, Jack Nungy, I just watched Jack Nungy the other night against Fairfield. I consider Jack a good defensive big. And Trace made it look easy.
But Coach, don't you think they kind of helped? They did help Trace Jackson. They're diving through passing lanes. They're letting him get to his left hand. They're letting him spin baseline. I thought the scouting report on Trace was not followed as well as it could have been.
As it could have been. Here's what makes him tough, though, is that he doesn't have to have the ball deep in the paint.
Right.
So now he can catch it, 15 feet, 17 feet, face up, and he's tremendous on the baseline. Like, I don't know how he navigates down there sometime without stepping out of bounds. And so that makes him difficult. The bigger concern is more, what Robbie just said. They still only made 4 threes, and they got out of there, alive. And that's a big win. That's a hard place to play. It's a good win. Can they get more perimeter? I thought Shafino to be a freshman and have 4 assists to one turnover is impressive. I know he was only 1 for 9 from the floor, but their guard play, I think, is going to dictate, down the stretch.
They're going to play in transition too. I mean, with Xavier Johnson's ability to push the tempo, their personnel is built to run this year. And I think that's going to be something that when their offense does bog down, they can get out and use that length and athleticism.
I want to talk a little bit about Malik Reneau, because 16 points, 6 boards off the bench. He had an assist. I thought he made a couple nice passes. I did not expect him to come in and have this kind of an impact. And I think that eventually he's going to end up taking over for Race Thompson. I just think that it looks like the offense moves better. It looks like the ball moves better. He just seems like a more skilled piece to kind of fit in. And I think it kind of changes, Robbie, what their ceiling can be.
You must not have watched their first couple games then, because he was balling those too.
Who were they playing?
Well, yeah, Bethune-Cookman. I think Morehead State was their first game. This was a different level of competition, but his skill set for his size, he can score with both hands around the basket. He can step out and shoot. He can handle it. He made a couple of plays tonight that you don't expect freshmen to make in their first road game. Even the last play of the game, he's the guy that's coming over and getting a contest on Kunkel's shot at the rim. So yeah, I just think I agree with you. On nights where Race Thompson's not shooting it great, you very well might see him end a game. He made it was a great design by Mike Woodson, but Xavier went 2-3 zone, and Trace sealed the left side of the zone, and they flashed Reneau right to the elbow, and he made one dribble and just a little lob to Trace Jackson Davis for an easy bucket when they needed it. But it was a big time pass by a freshman on the road. He's a talented kid, and I think he's going to be in position to finish games for Indiana at times this year.
Yeah, Laval. I said at the beginning of the season, I thought Xavier was going to end up being a top 20 team in college basketball, and a team that could compete for the Big Ten title. Or I'm sorry, the Big East title. And I kind of still believe that after seeing them play here, but I'm a little bit worried about the fact that it did not seem like they had any. Their best players are the bigs, right? Jack Nungy and Zach Freemantle. And Indiana kind of got whatever they wanted in the paint. I think part of the reason they only took 12 threes was like, why would you take a three when Trace Jackson Davis gets a layup anytime he touches the ball, anytime he wants to?
But who outside of UConn has got bigs in the Big East like that?
Calc-Brenner is
okay, but he's not
going to.
Yeah, okay.
And Eric Dixon, I think, might actually be Villanova's best player. We can get to that in a second, but that's a little bit of a red flag to me.
Yeah, I don't worry about, Sean's challenging them defensively. That's where they've got to grow from last season to this season. And they're going to score and Kobe Jones is their best perimeter decision maker at this point. And he's not their point guard, but he's averaging, he has 6 assists tonight, I think. And he's averaging 7 on the year. I think late what you saw was they had no timeouts. They're going to be in games because their bigs will keep them in it, and they got enough. Late, they had no timeouts. And so now you saw Sean, Sule Boom came and he dribbled. He was trying to dribble handoff to Kunkel. He fell down, and they ended up getting a turnover there. And it's like that's a possession where if the coach and the point guard have been together, if you have a point guard, one like a natural point guard, and if the coach and the point guard have been together and have a relationship, that's grown over time, that probably doesn't happen, right? And so they at least get a shot. They were down 1, and then they turned it over and had to foul now with 20-something seconds to go, whatever. So I think that's their main deal late in the game. Like bigs, I think your bigs can keep you in it, but when under 2 minutes, you got to have some guards that are going to make good decisions and make some plays. 2 minutes, a minute and a half to go. And I think that's their, who's that going to be for them?